All right, so today we're going to be going over Dynamic PDP in Domo. I'm making this video because while this is a pretty simple topic, I feel like it's not talked about a whole lot, and I think it's a pretty underutilized feature in Domo. PDP stands for Personalized Data Permissions, and that's kind of technical jargon. Like, honestly, I think maybe a better way to say it is row-level security. And the idea here is we have these big data sets in Domo. We want to be able to share them with all different sorts of users, but we want to limit what they're able to see, right? So maybe our VP can see everything, but maybe a data analyst or a sales rep can only see a certain subset of the data. And so today we're going to be going over Dynamic PDP, which is a great way to easily administer PDP across your whole instance. If you've worked with PDP before, you know that it can be complicated. Sometimes it can be very tedious. And so in this case, what we're going to talk about today is trusted attributes and a dynamic PDP policy. And we're going to run through a quick example. And so in this example, we have some sample retail data, and we have some store states where, the sales come in from these different states. And we have this big old data set, 193,000 rows, and we only want to show it to our managers whose region this belongs in, right? So we have an East region and a West region. And so the way we're going to do this is if we navigate to our admin panel, we are going to set up our trusted attributes. And so that also seems like technical jargon to me, manage attributes. What I think of here is like facts about the person, right? So in this case, me, for example, what are facts about me? What department am I in? What's my position? Where do I live? All these sort of things are attributes about myself as a person. And what we do here is we'll check these boxes to say we want to use these attributes as part of our PDP policy. And so if you haven't done PDP in your Domo instance, probably a lot of these are unchecked, but some important ones, right? So maybe employee number is important in your organization. You check it. Department, time zone could be an important one possibly. So I'm going to check these and click Save Changes and click Save here. And so what that's going to do, if you read this little blurb up here, basically it says that when you check these, it means only admins or authorized users can change them. And we want that because we want to make sure that people can't just change our PDP policies on their own, right? So in this case, we check it, and for this PDP policy, we're going to be using our department, and you can see we already have a policy set up, but we're going to be using our department one to determine who gets to see what on our data set. So now if I come to my users, we can see we have a very simple Domo instance here, 3 users, 2 of them have already been assigned departments and 1 doesn't, and we're going to assign all of these, we're going to give them access to a data set and see how PDP affects them. But if you want to change things, like if you're an admin and you wanted to change departments here, you would just come in here and click Edit, and you can create new departments. You can also use, like, if you have SSO on your Domo instance, you can have the SSO provider put these in. That's definitely a good way to go. But in this case here, right, we have different departments, and so we're going to put this PDP policy onto the sample retail data set. And so the way I like to do this at scale is I always like to set up these mapping tables. And going over this, basically I create a web form where I'll map what the trusted attribute is to what is on the data set, right? So in this case, let's assume that region wasn't on the data set, but states were. And we want to filter based on the states. In this case, we would map out states to regions here. And the reason I do this is because it's very easy to change. I think we've all seen examples where a sales rep changes territories, or someone completely switches up territories, and you need to remap everything. Using a mapping table like this can be super helpful. And so basically what we do is we save this mapping table, and what we actually do is we create a view on top of both data sets. And so, I'm a big believer in data set views. What I did here is I basically matched up my views where I came here and I added this on, and I just did a join based on store states. And what that does is that creates, that lets me dynamically map. And if I come to the end, we can see now that we have regions. And so I only mapped a few regions, right? So we have a lot of nulls in here. But in this case, we've mapped our West regions and our East regions. And so ideally what we're going to do here is I'm going to have access to just the East regions, and James Kirk is going to have access to the West regions. And so we'll do that with a PDP policy. So now coming here, let's set up a PDP policy for our view. So come to PDP, and I'm actually going to delete this one, but let's create a new one. So in this case, you'll first have to check to enable PDP. So we'll enable it, and we'll add a policy. And in this case, let's just call this dynamic. I can spell dynamic. And now this is where this is the step that we have to remember. Filter by trusted attribute. This right here is synonymous with dynamic PDP. These ones here, that's a simple filter policy. Dynamic one here is where it's a lot easier to scale this out, right? So in this case, we can filter by our trusted attribute, which is our department, and we are going to map it to the region column, and the trusted attribute that we have is department, and we'll ignore case. So just in case something's uppercase, we'll ignore that, and we'll click apply. And so the nice thing here is actually what we can do really easily is add everybody who has access to our policy and click apply and click save. And so now we have our policy enacted. And so now what we can do is come here to the preview. And if I look here, I really enjoy this view here because it shows exactly the rows that the user has access to. So you remember, I think I was in the west or east region. I'm trying to remember which region I was in. But if we come here and let's go to James Kirk, for example, he only has access to 16% of the data set. And John Luke, who you remember wasn't a part of a department, actually has 0%, right? So that's pretty helpful because it can definitely help protect your Domo instance if you want to make sure people don't have access to it. If someone shares something and you want to make sure that they don't have access, you can add them to a PDP policy. So super helpful. But just as an example here, right? If I come back to myself, it can show exactly how, if I'm in the East region, it shows here. And if I keep on scrolling down, it'll load and show examples of how it's only showing East. Or with Captain Kirk, right? We come back here, we can see that he only has West region access. And so that was pretty easy, right? Because this means if you have these trusted attributes set up, basically you can create a PDP policy very quickly and limit what data and what dashboard access, right? So that the dashboard also will display only this data. So I find it very helpful to create high summary dashboards and put dynamic PDP onto it. But yeah, that's a quick tutorial. Like I said, I think the learnings here are definitely manage attributes, right? Facts about people, figure out what are the most important managed attributes for your Domo instance. Figuring out a way to automate this, so maybe with an SSO provider is the best recommendation there. And then I would definitely recommend mapping tables here. And just as in closing, mapping tables are really great because let's say I wanted, let's say something changes and I wanted to add, Colorado to this region. I can click save and continue. And then because I have the PDP set up on a dataset view, it automatically, right, if I just refresh this, it automatically rolls into it. And so now without me having to do anything, it's updated the PDP policy. And if I wanted to preview it, let's go back and see if Captain Kirk can see Colorado stuff. And let's see, where's the states? Oh, let's see. Sometimes this bugs out like this. Oh no, sorry. He is. Come back here. West. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. So now if we see states, maybe there's no Colorado in this data set. Oh yeah, there's right. So anyway, you get the idea, right? It's very easy. Mapping tables are really helpful. Web forms, definitely recommend them. So thanks. Hope you enjoyed this.